Hello, everyone. We are live yet again, and this is going to be my author's chat of the week. Since I've been jumping on a lot of lives lately, this is my regularly scheduled program. And I'll be joined by my co-host in just a moment. I'm going to let this kind of send out the notifications, and I'm going to keep an eye out just to see if there we are. We are on a roll. See if he sees my invite. It'll be our first time talking to each other. Turn up my volume. Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. And I'm glad we got to get together and talk about books together. This is going to be fun.
Yes, finally. I've been watching a whole bunch of your lives. So I was just like, I gotta do one of these lives with Katharine.
You should. I'm glad you actually reached out to me, because sometimes I have that autopilot, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I need to be scheduling people.
It's all good.
But yeah, so since you're my co-host today, what I'll do is right off the bat let you introduce yourself and what you write, and we will go from there.
Okay. Well, my name is Steven Venet. I write it's a little bit of a blend of urban science fiction mixed with fantasy. It's kind of a new concept that I was trying out with the storyline premise. And I've gotten 2 books completed so far, and I'm currently working on my 3rd.
Yes, because I have it right here.
Yes, you do.
I came prepared today. Sometimes I forget to grab people's books, but I came prepared.
Well, I made sure that I came prepared too with the first works.
Show all your covers if you have them right there.
Well, I do. I have the first and the second. And if you notice, there's a slight difference on the second.
Mm-hmm.
The addition of the female main character for the storyline. So, yep. The second one really does play big on the role of the female main character. She plays as big a role, if not a bigger role, than the male main character.
Now, I know your first one was a single POV kind of storyline. With your sequel, with 2 per se main characters, are you going back and forth from their points of view, or are you sticking with your male protagonist?
Well, I'm actually doing a little bit of both. And so with the point of view, I'm kind of breaking the mold on that a little bit. I was actually questioned about it recently. And so I didn't want to totally give it away, but I kind of have to. So in the 3rd book, people will find out why the point of view is a little bit different than normal. It's kind of like a omniscient point of view, 3rd person, but centered around one person.
Okay.
So can understand the thoughts and the feelings of those characters around this one particular person. And for those of you that read the books, you'll find out what's going on with that in the 3rd.
That's so neat. That's exciting. And is your series supposed to be a trilogy, or are you writing more beyond book 3?
I'm writing just a trilogy for these 2 main characters. It will leave the ability for spin-offs with other characters that have been introduced throughout this storyline. I've actually gotten several people that have said, all right, I need more of this guy. I need a story just centered around this one person. But yeah, so everybody loves the character of Murray from the book. So I'm going to have to write a Murray book.
Yes, and hey, that's the thing, is it is really interesting when you start putting out your work out there, and then all of a sudden you have your readers who become your fans, and they're like, I need more of this character, or I want to know, this backstory, and it just needs you to be inspired to write, short stories, novellas, spin-off series, depending on, what your energy level is.
Yes, and honestly, I don't know if I have as good a book energy as you do with how many you've been cranking out, because this is how I got introduced to you, was with this. It was about a little over a year and a half ago that I picked that up, and yeah, gotta say, I enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
So
It's a fun.
Go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead. I'm sorry.
it's a fun series, and it kind of like breaking the mold. It was kind of fun to kind of concentrate. It's not really breaking the mold, but to dabble with a novella series, which is not, very mainstream at this moment. And I do think novellas are coming back and becoming more popular at this point in time. But for the Guardian Speaker, having little novellas that then I release, as you have, the printed omnibus collections of sets of 4 was a lot of fun.
Yes.
This year, it'll be finishing up with the final novellas being published later on. So that's the goal, at least. That's the goal.
Yes. So I got the omnibus of the first 4 and the audiobooks of the first 4 as well.
The audiobooks are fun. I do love George as my narrator, and he has such a fantastic voice, and his ability to make those characters come alive is wonderful as well. Now, do you offer audiobooks for yours at this moment in time, or is that something you're looking into?
That's actually not at this moment in time, but at this moment in time, I actually have contracted with 2 narrators that are going to do a duet of my first book, and they're going to hopefully, if things go well with it, they will be the same 2 for the second book and then the third.
That will be fantastic, because I don't know, I was so hesitant to jump into the audiobook world, and it was predominantly because it can be very expensive, and especially if you choose to do the route where you pay everybody up front. There's pros and cons all the ways, but it was just off-putting for so long, and I finally bit that bullet and jumped in, and I'm not looking back, because I was just like, this, I don't know why I didn't start this earlier. There were so many people who just read through audiobook as their format that hopefully you'll be reaching a whole new set of readers, which will be kind of cool.
Exactly. And honestly, like, I don't know if it was just like I didn't pay attention enough in school, or if I'd just been hit in the head too many times. My spelling is atrocious, and even my editor did not catch all of my spelling mistakes. So I'm hoping that the audiobook helps fix a little bit of that problem. So.
No, I've noticed that too. It doesn't matter how many eyes are on your work through the editing process. Some error is going to slip through, and that happens with traditional publishing as well. And it's not just an indie thing. It happens. I'll pick up a book, and once you, as a writer, start training yourself to try, at least attempt to start catching grammatical and spelling errors, you see them more and more in other books and works. And I've noticed that, at least for myself, which on one hand is a good thing. That means maybe grammatically and spelling-wise, I'm improving. On the other hand, it also kind of jars you out when you're like, ooh, that's spelled wrong. Ooh, you forgot the apostrophe. You need a comma right there. Hello.
Yes, I have noticed that myself, and actually the person that wants, or who's going to be editing my third book, is actually in the comments section right now. Nice. Kiki, she's awesome, and yeah, so I'm going to have her edit it chapter by chapter by chapter, just to make sure that I don't mess it up this time.
Good. And also asking anybody who's in the chat, make sure you can hear and see us, and let us know if you have any issues with that going forward. Hi, Kiki. And no, that's fantastic, because editors they're phenomenal. And I know at some point soon I'll be having to get to that point where I'll have to start looking for a new editor as well, just because I had one retire and the other one's moving in that direction as well. So it's kind of that point, and I've been forestalling it because I just you want a good connection with your editor, and it takes a little bit of time, and it's kind of like anything, you have to do that kind of back and forth interview just to see if you will work together, if you like how they edit, their style, because they're different editing styles, and it's a work relationship.
It is, and when you got an editor that does not mind telling you the brutal truth when you're messing something up and you need to do it better. When you're leaving stuff on the table that, should be said, or you're saying stuff that doesn't need to be. So.
And catching plot holes or areas where, because when we write, we are so, I get told this all the time by one of my editors, we are so connected to the story that sometimes what's obvious to us isn't really obvious to other people. And it's moments like that also are great when an editor's like, I think I see where you're going for, but you need to clarify this area because
Yes.
you may see what's happening, but you need to make sure everybody else sees it too.
Right. Like if you're trying to throw in a little bit of foreshadowing, is it just a little bit to you because you're the one that's writing it? You know how it's supposed to turn out. Or are you throwing in a lot, you know? And yeah, I have a major problem with that. My foreshadowing is not that big.
And that's okay. I mean, it's sometimes that's hard to plan. And like, if you don't know where the story ends, I mean, there are definitely writers out there and authors out there who are pantsers and they don't know how the story ends when they're going through that whole process. And that's fun. It's part of an adventure if that is your style of writing. On the other hand, when it comes to things like foreshadowing, that's hard to do when you don't know what's going to happen anyways. And so
Oh, yeah.
it just all depends on, I guess, the level of prep work for you and your style. Are you going to be that person that writes, plans everything down to the little I's and T's and all that, make sure, or are you going to just kind of explore through the story? So how about you? How much planning and prep work do you do prior to sitting down?
Honestly, I still use a legal pad. Just outline it. Okay, write it down. I know my key points in each chapter that I'm going to hit, and then I fill in the rest. I write from A to Z, and I hit each one of those points along the way. So it's the filling content that's going to carry me on through. So I don't know how the story is going to play out, but I know where the destination is. And so it's a little bit of a mix of both.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of how I do it too. I have enough planned, and I know the characters and the end game and the goals and the basic kind of structure of the story. But it is still kind of fun to see how the story writes itself in many ways. And I know it's so strange to people who've never tried writing before and don't have that experience, but the story can, take a life of its own, which is pretty cool.
Oh yes, I wrote probably the first two chapters of my third book, and I purposely deleted it because I did not like the way it was going.
Huh. Well, and that's fine too. It's like you try stuff and then you have to, that's part of the editing process. You're like,
Right.
we get to start over.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, and honestly, writing was never on my radar growing up. I was not, obviously, I'm not the English major with the number of spelling errors that people have found in my books. But, I found that I absolutely love it. It was an outlet for me to start off and literally got started on a dare.
Wow.
So,
And let me ask, because not only does the main character kind of have like reminisce and look like you, but certain aspects of him definitely, at least interests and hobbies, seem to overlap with you. So how much of you
yes.
is the main character? Let me ask this.
Well, I have no problem telling people the truth about it. When I first started writing it, it was more so of a memoir to, get out things that I was dealing with, from my own past and time in the service, time overseas, that kind of thing. And so I started out writing it like that and, didn't really go too far too fast. And I decided to, let me change the names of the characters, change some things up a little bit and screw it. I'm just going to write a fiction novel instead. But I already had outlined this character and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to write this character, yes, even though they have so many traits as me, and I have, vice versa. It's like, yep, I'm going to just continue that.
Well,
So, yeah, I do woodworking as a hobby. So does the main character. So,
that's what I was going to say, because I remember you gifted me, which I still have it. I love it. The little page holder that
yes,
was really neat because it had a little sentiment written in runes. And again,
exactly. And for those of you that don't know, I have no problem, sharing that secret. It said inspiration because it was watching Katharine's videos as I'm writing my first book that literally just like, okay, I got to get this out there. One of the videos that you posted, just get it out there, put it out there for people. Don't hold back, take the plunge kind of thing. And I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. And I did. So I owe that to you.
Oh, well, thank you. That makes me blush every time. And when I was getting ready for this, I told my husband, I was like, guess who I get to talk to today? Because it makes me so happy. And you never know. Your books may do the same thing, and your story may inspire someone else to, again, take that plunge, as you just said, to write. And I do think everybody has a story within them. I know that sounds very cliche, but they do. And it's how willing are you to take the time, make that effort to sit down and put it to paper, because a lot of people stop and don't finish it or don't go through with it. And I don't know. That's just my personal take. And thank you for the gifts.
Of course. And yeah, I would hope to God that it inspires somebody else to, do something similar. Like I literally started writing because my wife yelled at me saying, we're in Barnes and Noble and I'm taking forever. I love the hat. Definitely got to keep that on. We're in Barnes and Noble and she tells me, hurry up because, we got kids. They're, yelling at us. They want to go. And it's like, I'm taking forever to pick out a book. And she just complaining that I can't find anything that's going to hold my interest. She's like, well, if you think it's so easy to write a book, why don't you do it?
Ooh.
And I said, okay.
Challenge accepted. I like that.
Challenge accepted. And here we are about 2 years later and 2 books out. So
that is neat. Hey, you're turning them out far quicker than I did when I began, because I've said this many times, it took about 10 years from the idea to figuring out how to publish the thing for the Moore College. I get it, there was a hiatus, but it took a while for me to do the first one. And so to hear people that are succeeding at such a better rate, and with, again, the support that's out here now, like platforms like this, where people can find answers, figure out how to market. That's my question. I always am learning.
You said succeeding. I got 2 books out. I don't know if that's considered succeeding with the number of sales that I got on these 2 books so far, but that's because I don't have the face of, I don't have the face that invites people to, hey, come read what I wrote.
Hey, I don't know. I don't think it's necessary face, but it is also trying to figure out how to market yourself and market your books.
Right.
It is a hard thing to do. I know that because I definitely write, all of my series up to this point have been kind of what I wanted to write, which is great. And I know there are people who appreciate it out there. It's finding them that's the trick. But because I didn't come in with a game plan of like, this book is this plus this mixed with this, and you will find, that perfect here. And without having that mentality when I started off, makes marketing some of these series harder than others. Going forward, I'm trying to be more aware of that. So when I write new works, I'm like, okay, what would be the good pitch for this? And so it's learning. It's always learning how to market yourself, and it's not an easy road.
Exactly. And each writer has their own unique style. But like to me, when I first read yours, I'm like, okay, this I can get behind. It's well researched. You use proper terminology. It's like, all right, this is an educated writer about the topics, that kind of thing. It's like, all right. And I enjoy the writing style. So several of your books I actually picked up for my kid.
Ooh.
Yes, your young adult series, and I was like, "Yep, all right, got to get those."
Well, hopefully they enjoy it, because I love that's the one that's hard for me to figure out how to market, because it is YA, but it's a portal fantasy. It starts again on the younger YA side, but I want it to be approachable for people who are older than their younger teens, and it is a sweeping adventure, lots of quests and everything, and it is a fun series, and that's the one I'm running a Kickstarter on right now.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing, market it to their parents. They're the ones that actually have the debit card and the credit card, that kind of thing. It's like, look, you enjoy my writing for, the adult and, Viking series and that kind of thing. Pick up one of the books for your kids.
Yeah, Yes, and that is a smart way to do it because I definitely have talked to some authors who are young adult writers, and they have that again. That was their original approach. Is yes, obviously you want the kids to want to open that book, but market it to the adults because they're the ones who are typically buying the books for their kids. Not always, but most of the time. And again,
Right.
that's something I have to remind myself for that series is how do I market a YA to adults for their children or grandchildren or nieces and nephews and stuff like that. It's strategy again.
Exactly. So yeah, with what you were talking about with strategy, it's like, one of the things that I saw from yours was, because I've actually gotten a couple of them now, was the boxes, the PR boxes kind of thing. So there was your one of your previous books. I had done the Kickstarter campaign,
Mhm.
on that one, and then just ordered a book so that way I could claim Texas on your scratch off map. And because I saw that nobody had claimed it yet, so I was like, "Yep, I'm going to be first." So, but yeah, it was the PR boxes and that kind of thing. So yeah, that I took that one to heart, and so wanted to show you this.
Yeah. Ooh, that is gorgeous.
So, and it is a slide top
Wow.
box,
That
sign, and all that. So this is one of 12 that I made like that.
wow. Now that is something I've never seen before. That is stunning. And that's the thing is like for if you're a writer, I noticed someone earlier saying I'm working on 2 novels. One thing that is it they catch people's attention is when you put together that those little extras. And if you're doing direct sales, maybe it's a few odds and ends. It doesn't have to be a lot, but putting it together, having those personal touches can do so much for you and your work. And again, direct sales or Kickstarters or truly promo boxes that you create to send out to other people for them to hopefully open and share their enjoyment of opening them. Those are really neat. But I've never seen anything like that one, Steven. That one is beautiful.
Well, you see, you're the one that's doing awesome stuff like this. In case anybody was wondering, yes, I still have it. This is the one that I got for my daughter. Now, you did an origami sword with a sheath.
Yes.
Okay, so talking about crafty, oh my God. So, yeah.
But that's the thing is you have to work within also your skill set. Like for you, you do woodworking, and I can't even figure out how you did that. But origami, I don't think is merely like that. But they will appreciate it. Will enjoy the little touches. It's a little extra. When I lived in Louisiana, in New Orleans, they called it lagniappe. It's that's something special. That little extra is what it means, and so it's your lagniappe.
Well, if memory serves me right, you're a fan of bearded axes, right?
Yes, I love any kind of medieval weaponry, but that is cool. Look at that. Fantastic.
So, in the book, the character makes his own little zombie apocalypse bearded axe. So I was like, all right, I got to make these to go inside the boxes. So,
That is so cool. Yes, I love that. And those are so cool. I feel like I don't know. I like they. I'm stunned. I'm trying to like figure out like I feel like that's something that people need to like display with their book and everything because that is phenomenal. And again, you're so multi-talented with your creativity, again, with your writing and your woodworking, and it looks like you work with some
Thank
metal as well. So
just a little bit with metal. I'm by no means a blacksmith like some of the other guys that I follow on TikTok, but yeah, the woodworking, I love it. Writing is amazing. Honestly, the days that I come home happiest from work is when I got to screw off all day and just write in my book. And so, but yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
And like as you were saying, is when you started your path to writing, it was kind of trying to figure out how to. You said a little bit like a memoir and kind of reflect and cope or deal with some of the stuff that you've had experiences in the past, because you do have a character in your book series that is a vet and is dealing with a lot of
Mhm.
stuff. And writing to heal is something that a lot of authors that I talk to do in various ways. Writing to vent or just cope with things. It's a strong topic, and it's something that I feel like a lot of readers who may be vets as well can relate to and connect to and be drawn to, someone else who's so relatable.
Well, I appreciate it. And honestly, to me, it was a huge release, because I came back much along the same lines as that character, and actually suffered the same injury as he did in the opening chapter. That's where I actually got the premise from, and it's like, okay, dealing with that, but there wasn't a whole lot of people out there that could understand or relate. They just, oh well, sorry that happened. Thank you for your service. And it's like, oh well, appreciate it. Anybody want to talk about things that are dark, but need to get off my chest? And no, it's like, all right. So I wrote a book about it, and hey, I feel a heck of a lot better now about it now. So it was a huge release for me, and I hope honestly other people out there can, like you said, pick it up and feel like, all right, they're not the only one. So
And well, one thing I was thinking about, again, trying to figure out how to find the right readers. And uh, I know when it comes to, and this is one of those tricky things that you figure out over the years, but when it comes to Amazon and the way they put books into categories, they usually just kind of sprinkle them in like the general ones. But because
right,
Amazon has so many other categories, subcategories, sub like genre categories, that you can go and make requests to fit your book into, I forgot how many they have. I don't know if it's six, three for ebook, three for print, but you can request to specifically put it, because there is a lot of military fantasy and these kind of categories that your book would fit perfectly in, I would think, and it would help you probably find the right readers if you haven't specifically made that request at this moment in time to be slotted in those specific subcategories.
honestly, that's a great idea. I'm gonna have to look into doing that because like you said, it helps find that target audience that much better.
hmm And
So
and that's the thing is, it's nice to be slotted into a category. I've gotten put in some weird categories though. I don't know. Some of my books they just like put it, and I'm like, but it has nothing to do with this, and so I have to move
right.
it over. And as soon as I move it over, I see sales spikes, my numbers jump because it's reaching the right people. So that's just a little suggestion.
Definitely will have to look into that. I'll do that tonight, honestly. Because, yeah, I'm sure Kiki's still here. She's making me re-edit my book again because I need to. I really need to.
Hey, and that's not a bad thing. That's one of those great perks of being a indie author, because we have so much control. I'm a control freak. Have so much control over all the little details, and when we catch errors, which they will happen regardless. Again, trad or not or hybrid, you're going to get errors. But when you're indie, you can go in and adjust them pretty quick and catch them at as soon as you catch them, you can go in and upload new files and everything. And that's something that people who are traditionally published don't have that chance.
Right.
So you can always improve, adjust.
Yes. And yeah, that's for sure. Because I know after I published it, like initially, I got a phone call from a family member within like 24 hours of publishing. And they're like, you got a spelling on the back or a misspelling on the back of the book, right? Like, God, no. Sure enough.
It does happen, and that's why it's so important again to have a good relationship with a reputable editor or editors, depending on how you bracket it. And that's why a lot of people use readers like alpha readers and beta readers to again help with the editing process before they publish, because I mean you want your book to be the best as it can be for publication day, but it's if an error slips through, and it will, you can
Mhm.
still improve it and polish it up as you continue forward. So that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing,
So,
but then on the other hand, we have that ability to quickly change it before the next person sees it.
yes. Gotta love ebooks for that because you can do it instantly and nobody has to know.
Exactly. It's just unfortunate when you order print copies and then there's an error and you're like, well, I have X many that need to be sold with said error. But
Well,
it happens.
yeah. Since I sent you that one, I've probably re-edited it like 3 times since then.
Well, again, good
So,
news.
well, to me, it's like, okay, like the original ones that went out, it's like, all right, let those be collector's editions or something like that one day. I don't know. Just they'll be more special because it was before I figured out what the heck I was doing.
That's true. I mean, I have versions like that. For my debut book, Azara's Claws, I had the wrong cover. And when I released it, it was what I wanted. And I've said this recently before. Have a good weekend. Recently, that I put out the cover I thought would be perfect for it, and I was in love with it, and the book wasn't selling, and couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, and finally did more research and had to swallow my pride and find someone who was genre specific for a cover designer and re-released it. And that's when it started picking up speed and everything, and I was just like, okay, it happened. So there are some people who do own the original cover of Azara's Claws, but it's like a collectible now. There's only so
Right.
many left, and I think I have maybe like 5 left in that I own or something like that. And I'm like, maybe one day I will offer it out to a fan who just wants, to collect all the versions or something.
Right. That's right.
The ugly cover.
Yeah. Honestly, like I love the design of my cover when I first saw it. I'm like, there it is. It was my first one. Of course I'm gonna go with it. Why am I gonna like try and change anything? Now I'm just like, crap, I probably shouldn't have just picked, the artist off of Fiverr. Like, don't get me wrong, she did an amazing job. But now they're no longer on Fiverr and I can't find them anymore.
That is one of those terrifying things because I have one of my cover designers who did my first series at Incarn Saga and doing all my Viking series. She works on Fiverr too, and she's from the Ukraine. And I'm always worried that one day she won't be able to continue or will move elsewhere, and what will happen because it's harder to track down people. The other one I work with, I go through her website. I make sure I have direct contact all the time because I would be terrified being halfway through and having to change things up, which happens to people. But it also may just be the time then to freshen things up and come out with new covers for your whole series.
Exactly. So honestly, I think before I release book 3, that's most likely what's going to happen is I'm going to have to get all new cover art done. So
It's a challenge, but also now that you've published for a little while and you can ask feedback. If you have readers who are, reading and, telling you all these like good things about like, I love this character, all this kind of stuff, those are great people to ask and say, if the cover changed, what would you like to see? What do you think would, best represent it? And see what they say, because you never know. If they're the readers and they're the ones in love with your book, they may have some ideas too, but ultimately it's up to you.
very true.
It's like what you put out there.
Very true. Very true. So yeah, honestly, I'm probably going to have to do like a feedback poll or something like that. Post a few different cover ideas, that kind of thing, and see what everybody is interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, those that have read the first one, read the second one, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. And, the only negative feedback that I've gotten so far was, just general, hey, love the story, work on your spelling, or you need a better editor, or, something like that. And it's like, okay, that I get. I can work with that. But it's like, they all love the story. They love the characters. They hate the characters that I'm aiming for them to hate.
That's good.
Kind of thing.
Good.
Because I'm sure, you have the characters that you want people to hate.
Yes.
And so it's like, all right. Honestly, like I've grown to appreciate their opinions about them now. And it's like, okay, yeah, I think they're the best ones to ask.
Yeah, they're great. Like again, like the brain, the giant collective mindset that when you it's don't be afraid of polling your readers. Now again, ultimately it's your choice in the end. But I've seen a couple fellow authors on Book Talk do that where they specifically one was doing a cover design for an upcoming. I think she was doing a retelling of Red Riding Hood and was showed like started with 6 ideas and then narrowed it down and then did it again and voted and they kept voting. She was like, it was so, for her, it was interesting because what she thought people would want was not actually what they ended up liking en masse. And so sometimes, what your taste, it's great. But again, if you're trying to reach your general readership, asking those questions and finding that out can help you. They're a powerful resource. Use them.
Yes. Now that I got enough followers to, actually go live and show my face, that kind of thing, it's like, all right, yep, I'm gonna start picking their brains, that kind of thing, see what information I can get out of them.
Oh yeah, and I think that's another great thing about this platform, and is the fact because you can, once you make that threshold, you can start going live, and that's a great way to become, have that personal connection with readers that some of the other platforms are catching up on or haven't reached that, ability yet. But it's nice to have that face-to-face where, you could be talking and people be commenting, their answers, or they could be asking you questions, because when you develop those relationships, that's as important as, pitching your book is pitching yourself.
Exactly. And, that's the key thing, when I was recruiting for the military back in 2011, 2012, it's like, okay, I knew how to pitch the military. I knew how to pitch myself as, a soldier, that kind of thing. But now trying to transform that into, hey, look, I got this pretty nifty, book. Aren't you interested? That kind of thing. It's like, all right, I just got to figure out what is going to, break the mold and, set me on the right path. Apparently, though, it's a stick, because I don't know if you've seen the stick video, but I had a video go viral, and there's over...
Yes! Actually.
Yeah, it went, I think I'm closing in on 800,000 views on that.
Wow, that is wild. I've never had one ever go, I think, above 60. That was one. I am not a viral video person, clearly.
It was about a stick, though. And I posted hundreds of videos prior to this about my books. And I post one video about a stick and 750, 800,000 views. I'm like, crap.
Okay, now you need to go back to your own stick video and do one of those, I can't remember the term right now because I haven't done them in a while, but is it...
You stitch it or duet it?
Not the stitching, but the other one where you have them side by side and have one just show your cover and the other one's playing your stick video and not make any connection. But if the stick goes viral again, you have your cover on the other side of the screen.
This is very true. I did that. I did that, and believe it or not, that one got 6,000 views. And it was my average is 250, 300, a good one will go 400 or 500. But of course, the stick video.
It is always funny. It's the one you don't expect is what everybody tells me. One you don't expect that goes viral, and it's usually the simplest one made. And hi, Adam. And but yeah, you never know what's gonna happen. And so yeah, that's so cool. But who knew? Who knew? For you, it was gonna be a stick. I don't.
I mean, granted, it was a really cool stick, but.
But yeah, that's. Oh, actually, going back to your books, you have 2 out, and you're working on your 3rd. You said, or okay,
that's right.
Do you have an estimated release date for number 3?
Should be I should be finished writing by this summer. I'm a very slow writer, and I'm in the process of training up a replacement for my current position at work and taking on a new role. So it's like, all right, my normal time of writing was while I was supposed to be working.
Mhm.
So now I'm gonna have to start writing at night and that kind of thing. So I should have that finished written by August and ready for release by November.
Nice. And it's okay. Never compare yourself to someone else, because there are going to be those authors that write, as I'm looking at AP, 10,000 words a day, and then there are people like me who haven't written in about a month. It's okay. It's
Me too. Me too.
your own speed.
It's You're fine. You're fine. Because I got a friend that, I mean, she's working on like four different books right now. And
Wow.
it's like, oh my God, I can't do four at a time. There's no way.
I can do multiple at a time, but I also have a weird cycle schedule, daily, weekly, and monthly. And so new book is always in the morning. In the afternoon, I could be editing or formatting or other books. And that's the only reason why I'm able to publish two series simultaneously, quote unquote, is because I do
Right.
this kind of layered approach. But four books is impressive.
Yes. Yeah, she's a fantastic writer. My wife absolutely loves all of the books that she's written. She's a romance writer, whether that be fantasy romance or other types of romance. You'll have to get that explanation from her, because when she starts explaining it, my mind just checks out. Love her to death. She's a great girl, but it goes way above my pay grade.
Yeah, I'm not typically drawn to romance stories. Now, with that said, I've had some authors suggest things, and or because I know an author, I'll get one of their works, and I'm usually very impressed. But I guess that's the same thing of any books that are beyond the genres that I just gravitate to.
Right.
Unless someone suggests them or gives me the book, I don't usually read them. But when I do, I'm always usually impressed. Doesn't mean I'm going to jump on that bandwagon and buy the next book of that genre, but I do like the fact that I can be pleasantly surprised when I go outside of my quote unquote comfort zone.
Yeah. Some of the books that I've seen out there are definitely outside of my comfort zone, and that's saying something. So, yeah, there's a lot of things in the world that I'm okay with. Some of the things that I'm just like, okay, nope. I need an adult. Like, I need a bigger adult than me on that one.
That's fair. That's fair. There is a wide variety, especially when you get into romance, that are some that even I don't expect until someone's like, "Well, this is what it's about." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I ever would have thought of that."
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. And romance readers, they're voracious and they love it. But let me ask you, actually, since the hour's moving along by pretty quickly, so let me just make sure I hit a couple of the main questions I always like to ask. As in, one, where can people find your book to get a copy? Do you sell direct? Are you on Amazon? Are you wide? Where can people find your books and get them?
Honestly, I'm only on Amazon right now. I was going to try and do the other platforms. Um, Things got a little bit more complicated with some of the other ones, so I stuck with Amazon. I figured, uh, like my first book, it's available on Google Play Store, it's available on Barnes and Noble, it's available on Amazon. I have not gotten a single sale on any other one other than Amazon.
I do hear that a lot. Not to say that people won't get your book or find your book on some of these other platforms. They're definitely, especially the ebooks. There are some people who don't use Kindle. They use Nook or Kobo or something like that.
Right.
But it is better or for worse. Zon's the one that pulls a lot of people, and so it is one of those bread and butter for many, many authors. And I was exclusive for years and years up until towards the end of last year. I moved away from that exclusive thing to try to do direct sales with the potential goal of going wide in the end. But we'll see. It's a little more complicated than
Right.
I have the time to figure out, it feels like.
Right, because I mean, at that point, you need a full-time, IT specialist to manage all of those different things, and
There's a lot of accounts. But
exactly.
So Amazon, and you have paperback, and what other formats do you have for your books right now?
Paperback and ebook for both books. Audiobook is actually in the works right now. So they are starting the recording in May. So I believe they're going to have recording done and it back to me before the end of June into July.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to have everything prepped and ready for that release around the same time I'm releasing my third book.
Very
So that way, here's the third book, here's the audiobook version. So if you listen to the audiobook and just absolutely need the second and the third and you need to know how the story ends, you'll be able to get it.
That's so neat. That's exciting. It's going to be a big year for you then.
Yeah. Oh man, this year has been crazy enough as it is.
You're telling me. I'm in the middle of the move that I keep telling all my viewers. It's like, I'm in the middle of a move. And the fact that I have bookshelves up with my books is a feat in and among itself, because I literally came back today and was doing touch-up paint around the sofa. I am in full-on moving mode, and things are chaos. So I understand. Life is chaos.
I need to apologize real quick. It's your birthday this week.
Oh.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yes, do I look older? I got a year older yesterday. I was like, what day is it? Yesterday was my birthday. It's one of those years.
Well, you're talking to a guy that went bald in his 20s, so yeah, you're fine. You don't look older.
Well, thank you for the happy birthday. Now, let me also make sure I ask one of the other questions. So we now know where to find your books, but we also want to know, where can we find and follow you? Website, newsletter, other social media. Obviously, you're here on Book Talk, but are you anywhere else? Where can people
Yes. I'm on Amazon Instagram. Geez. I'm on Instagram as well as Steven Venet, author. And also I have a webpage as StevenVenetAuthor.com. So on that, it's got links to all of my accounts and that kind of thing. And yeah, just those three main. I do have a Facebook account that I may or may not ever get access back to if Facebook ever decides to allow me back in. When they kicked out everybody a couple of weeks ago for whatever reason. Apparently I have a new phone number now and they locked out my account. And two-factor authentication, I can't get past it. So. Wow.
Then, I was hearing some of that, but that's unfortunate. And to answer your question, AP, I'm talking to Steven Venet. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words today. I guess there is some kind of issue, unfortunately, for some people, because I've heard now twice that certain people can't see you. Now, I can see you fine, Steven, but I guess some people are not seeing you for whatever reason. I don't know why.
I'm so sorry. I did not see that. Yeah, I can see you just fine. So, well, hey, then everybody didn't have to see my ugly face. I'll call it good. Hey, everybody in the comments, just be grateful, all right? I mean, you're not missing much, other than I showed off the box that I'm going to be sending out here soon. And
I have book one's cover right there, so at least I can show this off for anybody who can't see me personally. So we have book one right here. But yeah, so Lucid the First Step, it's going to be a trilogy, and with a potential spin-off coming down the line. So that is exciting. And what kind of genres would you categorize your book at this point in time? Because there's so many genres people can fit their books in. I understand.
I would go with sci-fi, urban fantasy.
Very nice, very nice. And I would also put in a portal fantasy for you, because
it does definitely fit that category.
It falls in there.
Yes, it does. And honestly, I'm glad to be part of that community.
Take you to other realms. I do like that. But yeah, no, your book is pretty cool, and I'll have to get the second one before too long. It's on my ever-growing TBR list.
You're good. I got one of those too, and I really got to finish Derek Bourne's second book. I know he was on with you a couple weeks ago.
He was.
And so the Dino Riff series of his, love it. So that's my next one that I got to read. But there was one thing that I told you earlier this week that I wanted to run by you on live.
Yes.
It was D&D related.
Okay, I'm listening, and I do see AP's comment. Yes, book talk TBRs are insane. This platform gets you. But yes, back to you.
Okay, so I'm sure everybody in the comments, and yourself included, read Goosebumps as a kid.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Choose Your Own Path style book
Yeah.
that Goosebumps had? I was thinking about maybe a D&D related, instead of choose your own path, let the dice choose your path.
Ooh, that is neat.
Where it's a short campaign, but it would be a book that at certain points, as the character is trying to accomplish a task, you got to let fate decide.
That is cool. That would be a lot of fun and terrifying. Well, in some instances, theoretically, yes, D&D, you have to roll the dice to see if you're going to achieve or not achieve whatever your prerogative is. So there is that already embedded there to an extent, but to fully immerse yourself, that's terrifying and very interesting.
I thought it would be just like nostalgic, fun for everybody out there. All right, yeah, if you read the book once, cool, you got your story, but you can read it again and get this completely different one.
I love that. That is fantastic.
So I thought that would be something really cool, but I would definitely want to try and reach out to the D&D company themselves and try and get proper licensing on that.
Perfect. Sorry, my dog just walked in here, so if the whole thing goes wonky, he's probably bumping something. It's a very big dog.
just a tiny bit of a big dog.
Yes, very little. Yeah, my wolfhound is he's pretty big. But I do want to do one branching back. I see in the comments that AP Beswick's coming to America for JordanCon. Is that the one in Atlanta? Because if so, I'll have to go track you down. You'll be my neighborhood. That's cool. Sorry. I'll have to go poke him behind the scenes. But, and Stephanie, yes. Sorry, Stephanie. Yeah, I don't know why you can't see my co-host at the moment. Some people are having issues and some are not. But it is Steven Venet, and I have his first book cover. The only thing I could think of is if you bounced out and bounced back in. That would be the only thing. But we are in the thing, so it's up to you if you want to try that or not.
Well, I'm going to try it right quick just to see if anybody can actually see my face or not. So give me 1 second.
We'll try this and just see if this corrects it. So I can kind of figure out if that is a way to resolve it. But let's see. I'll go and invite him back in. See him. I see your icon. I don't see your face at this moment. There we go. I see.
Back.
Again, let's see if anybody else does. So if you see Steven, let me know. So let me know. Post in the comments if you see him now.
You love technology. Yes, I absolutely love technology. It's wonderful.
Oh. Do
not see. Dang it.
Sorry. Well, I see you, and I'm crossing my fingers because I see you, that this recording will record your beautiful, and
thank you.
Again on, we'll see if YouTube, so then people can reference it and be like, oh, that's who you were talking to. But
yes.
Platform is nice. I will do that and put all your content, again, information where you are, how people can find and follow you down below the YouTube video. Now, because we are towards the end of the hour, let me ask you, is there anything that you wanted to talk about, anything like topic-wise, themes, or questions that you had that you didn't get to ask so far for this? And same goes for any of the viewers at this moment in time, too.
Well, the question I have for you is, honestly, it's the same one I get asked all the time. What made you start writing?
No, nothing could stop me. No, I'm sorry, guys. I'm moving too long. But okay, AP. Okay, I now definitely have to, because you'll be the third author I know going to this event. So now I probably have to go find tickets. But as for why I started writing, I grew up and I was able to invent characters and backstories, and a lot of this developed from just my imaginary play along with my sister. We live in the country, so we were cast out to the woods and the fields, go play, and created essentially a magical multiverse, didn't know the term at the time, which was so vibrant and everything that I wanted to share those stories with people down the line. And I was like, I'll be a writer one day. That's fine.
That'll work.
And so I just truly believed it. And I just always knew that I was going to be an author. I just didn't know how. I knew I was going to do it. It took me a few years, clearly, but that's what I'm doing right now. And actually, the Kickstarter I'm running is for the 4th book of the series, based off that magical multiverse that was my inspiration for becoming a writer as a child. So that's what I'm doing right now. And link in bio. Have to throw that one out there. Have to not get myself periodically. I have to remind myself I have to do that. But yes, young adult portal fantasy, epic fantasy, noble bride, clean fantasy, all the fun little categories that you learn to stick your book into.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I know after this live, I'm going on to the link and I'm going to the Kickstarter, and I'm definitely supporting this.
Oh, thank you. Again, no one feels to feel obligated, but it is, and for anybody who is a writer or something, and maybe you down the line, I know more of us are utilizing Kickstarter for various ways. AP Beswick, that's been chiming in. He's about to launch his, and he's doing I think one of the fancy editions of like foil, metallic foil or sprayed edges. People are doing a lot of that. Some are using it to raise funds to pay for audiobook narrators. My friend Z.S. Diamante just did that. I'm doing it just to compensate some of those upfront costs for publishing, because there are a few. It's not cheap to publish your own book. And so that's why I do it at this point in time. But it's fun. There's ebooks, paperbacks, hardcovers. I'm doing customizable book box items that you can add on. I did have one add-on, not as cool as your axe, but there are little metal swords and daggers that you could add on into your book box. Those, I will admit, if you're in the US, they're charging shipping, shouldn't have, so I'm going to compensate anybody that extra shipping fee, because that was dumb. But that is my Kickstarter pitch, and I am done. Link in bio.
Oh man, honestly, I like the Kickstarter pitch. It's a heck of a lot better than mine. So don't.
Everybody, it's just, hey, you're going to be on more lives. I know you will be, and the more you talk about your books, the easier it is, and just have fun with it. And it also is a great way, again, talking back and forth, figuring out those right words, the way to approach it will help you sell more books.
Well, I promise you, I am going to duet that stick video again, try and get my face out there in front of as many people as possible. And there is a question. It says, do you like to read? Yes. Yes, I like to read. Yes, I am also a father of wonderful little children that never like to go to sleep and always have a lot of questions late at night when I can finally get my chance to read. But yeah, audiobooks while I'm traveling on the road and traveling in the air, and physical books like this one. But nobody can see it except for me right now and you.
Well, hey.
Right now I'm holding up Katharine's omnibus on the Guardian speaker, and I also have this one that I still have wrapped, because this one is for my oldest that lives out in Georgia.
Hey, Georgia.
This is Asara's Claws. It is still wrapped, so I wanted her to see it as special as it came.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it was so cool that you were the first Texas person on my book map. So that is very neat. And that made me happy, because I was born in Texas. So the fact that Texas is on the board and Georgia is not, and Louisiana is not, hello, guys.
Wait a second. I know you're living out there in Georgia right now. You're telling me your husband did not buy one of those books. You better tell him get on that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm not going to obligate anybody that I know to buy my books. I feel like that's rude. And it's not like he doesn't have a chance to read any of my books. I have a couple just laying around my house. But yes, that's my mentality. I'm not going to like twist someone's wrist. If you're interested, though, link in bio. Link in bio. That's what I'm saying. But yes, Texas. I see a lot of hollers there for Texas. My first book is coming out April 18th. Good job, Sarah. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Because,
congrats.
Yeah, publishing, it's one of those things. When you hold your first book for the first time, it is, woo!
Oh, yeah. Big time.
It is an
That's
amazing
awesome.
thing. And but yeah. And I was gonna say, if an author ever said they didn't like to read, I'd be like, you were in the wrong career because you're gonna be reading and rereading and rereading your own work.
Right.
Hopefully, most authors like to read, or else they may be questioning some things. And I
Yeah, yeah.
heartless.
It makes it a much more difficult job.
Sorry, what?
I said it makes it a lot more difficult to be your job.
Yes, yes. And but let me throw this out there. Now that you have two books, and you will have three, if you haven't started doing book signings, and maybe something you want to consider, even if it's something like a local library or a mom and pop bookshop, because again, great way to draw people, especially in the local community, and start people work big. Again, I know some people travel a lot for cons and do other bigger things, but start small, and it's cool to see who would come and get your book that way.
Actually, I had an idea about that. I never actually followed through with it. Thank you for reminding me. We got a couple of Black Rifle coffee shops out here. If you're not familiar with it, it is a veteran-owned coffee shop. I'm pretty sure they would be open to it.
Yes, do that. And coffee shop ones are great. I've done some different events at places like that, and different community ones. And it's so neat because not only will people be willing to come out and support you face to face, there are people who love collecting signed copies, and you could be reaching new people and readers. And a lot of people like supporting a local writer too. They think it's really neat, being like, oh, there's an author in this area, and yeah, it's amazing how many people will support. So crossing fingers. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm gonna have to get at it then.
You should. And yeah, there's another person. Yeah, Sarah lives in Georgia. And Atlanta is in Georgia, AP, and that's why I actually live right outside of Atlanta, essentially right outside. I moved a little further outside, but still, it's my backyard. So now I have to I see if anybody's in Georgia, come and say hi. If anybody's in Texas, say hi to him and Stephanie, who's in Texas too. I see. But yeah, we got the South hanging out here. This is great. But yeah, if anybody else has any questions for either of us or anything, let us know. And if not, I'm just been having a blast coming out and talking with you
Likewise.
this last hour. And it has been way too long for us to do that. So I'm so glad that you're joining me for live, and glad you reached out to me because, again, my head's in the stars with this move.
Well, it took me long enough to get to 1,000 followers to be able to actually go live with you, so it's my own fault.
Hey, no, it's some people get it right off the bat. Other people, it's a slow growth game. And for me, I'm a slow grower on all social media, and that's okay. It's okay. Slow, but special. But yeah, thank you for coming out, and AP, I'll be talking about you on the. I have to go see if there are tickets still left for JordanCon, Atlanta. But yeah, thank you for coming out, talking about it. Book 2 of Lucid is out right now. 3 is coming later this year, and the first trilogy will be done of this. It's fun. It's a fun story.
I hope everybody that reads it likes it. It was a lot of fun to write, and I appreciate you having me on with you, Katharine.
Thank you. And if you ever want to do another one of these, again, schedule them in advance, but I try to do at least one weekly.
Not a problem. Thanks again.
And thank you for everybody coming out, and I'll be talking to some of you behind the scenes. Bye.